Hi everyone, welcome to 5day.io Snacks, your go-to podcast for insights on thriving in dynamic and fast-growing teams. Here, we aim to reflect, pause, and rethink our daily grind for a better, more human future. I'm your host Mansi, and today we're joined by a very special guest, Aditi Aggarwal. Aditi is the founder of GTM Unbound, a platform simplifying the go-to market process for technology startups expanding internationally. With 17 plus years of experience in the market expansion, strategic growth, and partnership development, she has played an essential role in helping startups break into the US market. She has nurtured long-term relationships with 1,000 plus CXOs and UHNIs and launched multiple premium global brands in India, including Amex Centurion, Formula One, MotoGP, and Champions Polo League. Her GTM strategy and business expansion expertise make her an invaluable resource for founders navigating global markets. Aditi, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the 5 Day Snacks podcast.
Congratulations, and I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to get into our chat as well. But before we begin our conversation, I'd really like to set some expectations for our listeners today. So today we're going to dive very deep into the go-to-market strategies and global expansion challenges that you've personally faced throughout the years and how startups can position themselves for success in international markets. So we're going to explore Aditi's journey and her expectations and her expertise in GTM strategies. And I'm excited to learn everything I can, Aditi. So to start with, looking back over your career in the GTM and market expansion expertise, what have been some of the most significant shifts that you've observed in the industry so far?
Interesting question. So, I think one of the biggest shift has been that the traditional sales-driven or conventional marketing-driven models have evolved to ecosystem-led growth.
Right.
Like earlier, go-to-market was all about sales teams pushing products into markets, um, attending conferences, but it was all about, all right, these many leads, this is the work on the funnel. Now, there has been a paradigm shift, which is about building communities, learning, going deep, building relationship with our prospects, with our customers, leveraging partnerships, creating value-driven conversations across, our persona and anybody who influences our buyers.
Right.
So another major shift that I'm seeing is the, the rise of PLG.
Right.
Product-led growth is like customers now experience or like they experience from somewhere or the other, or they go through the product, they take a demo even before, like many times before buying, they want to ask their community, like, I'm in this tech ecosystem with founders. We ask each other, hey, is this product good? Hey, is this tool good? What do you think
Definitely.
over, let's say if you're looking at for something like something in billing, then you're like,
Right.
hey, do we look at Stripe or Paddle or ChargeBee or, so
Yeah.
GTM strategies need to be more about engagement than persuasion. Also, AI, I think, has completely changed,
Oh, yeah.
how we
Definitely.
approach the market intelligence. Like, what is the lead scoring mechanism? How do we even define customer success for us? It's no longer about having, one strategy. It's about
Definitely.
adapting and, the data-driven GTM playbook, which I think needs to be as agile as it could be, because a lot of times, we are changing larger strategies also every week, 10 days, just because,
Right.
there's just this new productivity tool, there's just this new marketing tool, it's just changing, and the other one is becoming absolutely irrelevant.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. So I think in lines of what you were talking about, right? Nurturing human relationships with our peers. I think spaces like Reddit are gaining a lot of prominence again when we talk about that, right? So whenever you search for any keyword, let's say we work in a space of project management software, right? So if a buyer were to search that, you would find these days that Reddit is like the second or third in that search result where, you find real conversations from real people talking about, hey, is this tool good? And you actually, uh, sort of the users sort of get a raw, real experience of what the product is like instead of getting being pushed like the product being pushed down their throats by different brands. And I think that is what we are sort of going towards now. So I completely, agree with you there because that has been a very, very, I think, major shift in how we are also navigating our buying decisions as, users.
For us, is that for us, like at GTM Unbound, my whole intention of creating a founders group, um, you can call it a group, you can call it just a mere WhatsApp group, you can call it a community, but the whole intention of having 300 plus founders within the same ecosystem, building from India for the world with US as the first market, is that we talk about anything and everything in that.
Right.
Especially about buying decisions,
Yeah,
because sometimes I find a tool too expensive. The other times I think like
definitely.
it is a lot of effort. I like the tool, but what are the kind of experiences my peers have been having with that?
Yeah,
And do I need to be, is it a red flag that I don't see?
yeah,
Sometimes that one tool is cheaper than the other, but in long term, there are some hidden costs. And one of my
absolutely.
peers has already done, the whole calculation with their experience, spent time.
Right,
So it's amazing. Like, I remember we were in a conference, SAS Bhumi Annual, one of the most coveted conference in India, tech ecosystem. And I was attending this with the Omnify co-founders and Kabandi, um, right after the conference, within a few hours, shared notes on the SEO session, which was
right,
taken by Rakesh Patel. And
right.
for me, having to go through all of my notes, prepare something and do that would have taken at least, if nothing, 45 minutes of my time. And now I just have it. And we
Yeah,
were,
definitely.
it's just so simple. So I mean, I'm just saying that power of leveraging um, a community is something which is amazing, which can really change the buying decision. And I think um it's similar to the Q&A or the responses at Reddit, absolutely. But
Yeah.
this is where the real buying happens, I guess.
Right, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And I think with the community that you're building, right? Like, I often hear a lot of founders say that the journey of being a founder can be very lonely at times, right? Because you have the resilience, you have the grit, but sometimes it happens that you don't have the expertise in all the necessary areas where you need to make decisions very quickly. So I think just having a community of people who have been through that, have expertise in that, and leveraging that can be really, really something that you'll be truly grateful for as a founder, I might say.
Oh yeah, it is one of the toughest things to curate. I do two events in a week, and
Right.
I think startup founders or tech founders, especially startup founders, because of, I should say, lack of resources a lot of times, or
Yeah.
leaner teams, or the like dynamic environment. Or
Yeah.
one of the tough things is that we are building from one country for a couple of other countries, so our
Yeah.
whole mixed up multiple time zones. It's really hard,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, Having said this, I think I sometimes feel, and I'm humbled, but I'm super super proud so many times that hey, I'm getting like these 200 plus founders to talk to each other, and I love it.
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
they're the toughest market to work with. That's the
Yeah.
reality.
Right, absolutely. I think talking, I'm so sorry. I think talking a little bit more about that, you've worked across multiple roles, including a founder, an advisor, growth strategist. So, how have these things sort of shaped the way you approach business expansion today, not just as an advisor, but for your own, company as a founder of GTM Unbound?
I think looking back 17 years, I've had an extremely um, absolute unprofessional career. And let me tell you, like I designed it this way. Like
Oh,
it,
is it?
nothing, absolutely, like nothing just happens. You don't spend 7.5 years in international sports and get, get opportunities to work with, let's say, Manchester United, um, they're, they're huge. And I was working for
Yeah,
them in 2008, and uh, they are in their own, it was just a dream to spend
right,
a couple of years there. Then I moved to Formula One, where I spent close to 3 years, and it was the first time Formula One was ever held in India. So the
right,
response to expensive tickets, the response to international sports being sold as a glamorous, glamorous 3 days where you spend couple of $1,000 to. It was absolutely new for the Indian market. M- Moving to the hockey league, moving to Champions Polo League, and then deciding, all right, I want to get into fintech and financial services. And I was part of the launch team of the Black Card, which was for the ultra premium top 1% in the country, to then becoming a bureaucrat for Australian High Commission. Um, everything, each of these roles before I entered startup ecosystem, I just designed it in a way that I want to become an international market entry specialist. And
right.
wherever we're talking about launching something new in a
Hmm.
territory, that is where, um, each of these experiences have given me different lens to view go to market. Like as a
Right,
founder, living through the high stakes of scaling, where every decision is impacting growth. As an advisor, where I'm advising two large fintech companies, I've seen patterns across multiples of startups which help me. A lot of times I'm telling the founder, hey, I've seen this challenge before. I think I'm seeing that this might go south, like, because
right,
this is my experience.
right,
Um, but with this rich experience, my biggest takeaway is that there's no one size fits all GTM
right.
strategy, right? What works for one company doesn't work for the other. Um, a SaaS company breaking into the US market would not always work necessarily uh, be relevant for, because one is selling to fintech, the other is selling to just regular startup founders, or the third one is selling to absolutely enterprises. Every expansion needs a mix of um, very, very um, thought through structure,
Right.
agility, uh, looking at data metrics. Decisions need to be combined with founder gut. And
Yeah,
I believe founder intuition is one of the most important things in this play.
definitely. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Like, can you expand a little bit about that? When we know gut feeling is one of the most, I think, prominent things that we have as human beings, right? Like that is something that is at the center, or should be rather at the center of every decision we make. But let's talk about the grit and the uh, founder gut that you mentioned here. How have you seen, something like oftentimes it happens that you're planning and you have created an entire strategy. Has it ever happened that, simply because of being in the business for long enough, of having enough experiences, at the end moment you felt like, no, I know this won't work, and you had to sort of scrap your plan, but it was ultimately okay or not okay. But let's explore a little bit about that.
Sure. I think it was when I see startups with great products, and unfortunately, sometimes when they fail, it's not just about product issues.
Right,
The products are great,
right.
but because of some sort of GTM misalignment.
Hmm.
Now, a well proofread approach strategy still needs to be agile for the market condition. Still
Right.
need I plan perfect event, but I perfectly plan a very, very highly curated event. But you know. the event is an after event to one of the most, promising conferences with high
Right.
quality delivery content. And the purpose of my event was an after event
Hmm.
where founders can wind down, where we can share learnings, where we can talk about GTM, where we can help, we can create a value added, but in a more, um, I would say more environment to learn for sure, but a little, where founders are easy. But
Right.
the conference just gets delayed. And I'm talking about, I organize a multi-sensory cooking multi-sensory uh, culinary experience. And the conference got delayed by 2.5 hours. And
Oh,
the reservation was for 30 minutes right after the conference finishes. And you
right.
plan it tight because it has never
Yeah.
happened in the last 5, 6 years that conference got delayed. And
Yeah.
everything was on time since morning.
Right.
So, there
Right.
was no room to change that thing. But now your event is suddenly competing with founders having to leave back to their towns, founders
Right.
wanting to decide between the ikigai, right? Like the conference and the
Yeah.
content. And then you are like, fine, and our purpose is in somewhere in between.
Yeah.
So if I don't redesign it, if I'm not agile about, like tweaking it, if I'm not open to a few changes, then what do I do? So
Yeah.
I tweaked the time a little bit. I made it optional for few people who I thought like were
Right.
resistant. Um, and then this only happened 2 days ago. And I informed my team, and I was like, all right, let's just prepare a list B as well. There were a few founders who approached me, said they really wanted to come, but we had no which it's one of the most coveted top 10 restaurants in Asia. And there was
Right.
no more reservation, and we booked their private dining space. They could only accommodate 13 folks. We were already 14.
Right.
And we just made a list B. We invited a few people, and can I tell you, there were 16 of us.
Oh,
And there was
wow.
no space for 16. But we made a plan B list. We gave the whole comfort to founders, where one founder sent his co-founder, another founder said, I can only come late, but if you start the course, it was a 13 course menu. If you start the course, I don't mind missing a couple of them, but we cannot make it, like, you know, we
Yeah.
as in I was an event organizer, I couldn't say that to the chef because he wants everyone to start together because they come and share
Definitely.
how they cooked and what is it. So I'm just sharing, like, this is a very small thing. Um,
Hmm.
but my gut, sort of like, you know, the energy, the passion of like I want to give founders the best experience and I want to make it
Definitely.
fun. And
Yeah.
I generally don't start with the fun stuff, but the first game, instead of introducing generally what I do is like I divide it into a few segments, and a few of them are icebreaker segments. And I just started with like, all right, like I wanted to laugh out big. So I started with like,
Right.
hey, can we all share a joke with each other? And the room within 5, 7 minutes gave me a lot of comfort because I was literally I was sick to my stomach because there was so much
Right.
of operation management in the last 1 hour
Right.
because of something happened. So I'm just saying that I realized one big thing, that founder market fit matters just as much as product market fit. So if
Right.
I'm in this business, I need to, like, events I need to be absolutely agile. I just need to be prepared all the time. For anything, there always has to be plan B and plan C. So
Right.
if a founder doesn't deeply understand the nuances, let's say, of a new market or lacks the right network, I had a couple of folks to support me for my plan B,
Right.
which is my network.
Right.
No amount of cold outbound. If I start, let's say I started sending out, WhatsApp messaging to the community, to the founders, this won't work.
Right.
Or, like I suddenly say that, hey, can you help me? And, I'll make you partner at my event. I don't think all of these things can work. So,
Right.
in perspective of a tech founder, nuances of new market, the right network, cold outbound or paid marketing, the expectation from that it can really work out, I don't think it's always on point. And that's
Right.
where I think doubling down on something like a community driven GTM or a ecosystem enabled led growth, um, partnerships and warm introductions over cold outreaches. um, Somebody shared it with me, and we were in a podcast last week. And for a person like me, I think relationships move markets and buyer sentiments faster
Definitely.
than, let's say your outbound marketing ads, etc. ever can.
Yeah. As I was saying, that something very interesting you mentioned right now is that community is taking precedence not just for founders. I think the founders who understand the long-term impact community and relationship building, not just with other founders, not just with their community, but also with their prospective buyers, the founders who understand the long-term effects of that sooner will deeply benefit from it for years to come. And that is one trend I think all the you know people who are making the purchasing decision also understanding now and gravitating towards now. So, what are some other upcoming sort of, I would not say trends is a very reductive word for that, but sort of upcoming long-term movements you see in the GTM landscape and startup for startup expansion that you are very excited about personally?
Sure. I think for me, there are a few big ones, and I'm a big believer in them. One of them is ecosystem-led growth,
Right,
ecosystem-driven GTM. Um, you can also call it network-led growth. So companies, founders have realized that market access comes from people, not
right,
just, like from personas. I have seen that founder-led sales, amongst with ecosystem intros, with ecosystem enabled, let's say, founder-led roundtables or expert-led cohorts or different other format of events. Um, investor-backed GTM accelerators have worked a lot more than the
right.
others. This is a world of hybrid model. It
Yeah,
is it is PLG plus what do you say, ecosystem, or PLG versus community-led growth.
right,
Sales-led growth is making a comeback in B2B SaaS, but winning GTM motions are blending the two,
right,
self-serve entry and enterprise expansion. I I strongly believe that events is a big channel to leverage, um, building the right kind of cohort for your product,
right,
wherein you will find champions, where you'll get opportunity to sell, co-sell, find a new partner, and more. Um,
right,
there are Another trend that I'm really seeing is AI-driven GTM intelligence. So
right,
it's not just about automation anymore, right? It's also about predictive GTM that AI
right,
is helping us with. Um, AI tools are being able to map ideal customers. I've personally experienced interesting discovery automation tools, so you get to understand your ICP better, automate discovery, and also recommend real time GTM shifts essentially.
right,
Um, Another trend is go to ecosystem strategy. So basically, I think tech founders are realizing that they don't need to build alone. They
right,
can plug into ecosystems. They can ask VCs to make connections in the VC network. There can be distribution partnerships and industry alliances, which will, which can help. So the next decade of go-to-market isn't just about being loud in a market. It's about, being
Right.
embedded in the right
Right.
circles at the right time with the right credibility. Um, you help 4, 5 times, give, and then you see the magic of, ecosystem play. So,
Right.
I mean, to sum it up, it's like GTM today is not really about how many ads we are running, emails we are sending, um, 20, 30, 40 million that we have raised. Of course, that helps, right? But
Right.
it's more about, I think, who we trust, who as a customer can vouch for us, who's giving us a very interesting testimonial, who can really say in front of 200 folks. Like one of the companies that I advise is a revenue-based financing company for B2B SaaS companies.
Right.
And one of the few customers are super happy, um,
Hmm.
sharing out loud, hey, we have taken revenue-based financing from Efficient Capital Labs 3 times.
Right.
And this happened in a welcome dinner of another conference in US. And I was like, wow, I don't have to immediately, because the founder shared, a customer shared a testimonial in front of another hot prospect. I didn't have to really say anything more. I
Exactly. Yeah.
with aspect to that conversation, all I have to say is, let me know if you want me to connect, and
Right.
I'll make the connect. And that's it. So
Right.
market is following the momentum. The best GTM strategy is earn trust first, invest community, and you'll say scale. You might scale second, but you'll scale more.
All right, Aditi. So, moving on from that, I have a slightly personal question for you. Being a founder is sort of a 24/7 job. Like, there's never a off switch that you can turn off and, just go rest. As we were discussing before joining this call, you've been at SaaS Boomi for the past couple of days, got back last night, and there's just no off switch back-to-back meetings. So how do you sort of make time for yourself in the middle of all these chaos and like recharge?
I love dancing, so I sometimes,
Oh,
catch a pay as you go. I'm not a very regular part of one dancing group or troupe anymore.
right,
Um, but my friends are generous for dancing groups, so they invite me for shows, and for shows we have to sometimes practice for 4 sessions or 5 sessions, and then you get to perform, and I love to do that.
right,
So uh, that is one. So pay as you go sessions once in a week. That um, I think both me and my husband are part of the same tech ecosystem and startup. And no matter how much abundance I'm consciously trying to build around myself, um, there's always dearth of time, and there's AI has just created this very anxious sort of energy around us that, oh my God, will be irrelevant, and like how soon. And before the AI trend, it was like, the VC ecosystem, I mean the money market, like access to capital became harder. And uh, before that it was COVID. I just have consciously built a small, routine for both me and my husband,
right,
wherein we try to take very short breaks. So if you see in the last 2, 3 years, all where we have gone is to Maldives because it is a 1 hour flight.
right,
We've gone there thrice. It's a 1 hour flight, and all
right,
you have to do is like you get to the airport, and from there a speedboat or a small plane will just take you to the island, and you
right.
can, your holiday can be as short as 3 days, and you come
Yeah,
back recharged, and it is pretty much a cutoff. We do take a few we do a couple of sessions, try to
right,
avoid calls as much, but That one interesting thing I did last month was it was my father's death anniversary, plus it was Valentine's Day, and my father was very connected to Osho, and I love dancing. So I designed a small holiday for us, wherein I was doing an event in Pune, with a good friend. AI went, and I was like, hey, if this goes successful, I'm going to take like 2 days off. So I went to Osho Ashram, wherein, they do aesthetic dancing and
Yeah.
you can meditate, and it's basically movement meditation and so many other
Yes.
things. So yeah, that was like, you make the most of wherever you are, whatever you have got, and it was really refreshing. Like
Right,
I
right,
don't remember the last I meditated for 27 hours by myself. I had the
right.
company of my husband, but he was doing whatever he wanted to do and attending the sessions that he wanted to. I was
Yeah.
doing we were sort of in the same universe, which
Right.
was sort of, from the context of all right, this is Valentine's week, so we're not really missing out a lot on,
Yeah.
the world celebrating love and companionship. Am I not being able to,
Yeah.
am I not grateful enough for
Right.
that? No, I am. So yeah, that's how we do it. We just like try to tweak it and still
Right.
keep telling ourselves that, this is amazing.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Aditi. I think uh, having hobbies and passions outside of being a founder is really, really, I think not just a founder, as a person who just works in a professional landscape is very, very important. So I really, really appreciate you sharing that advice. And thank you for sharing your story and insights with our listeners today. Before we let
Thank
you
you.
go, where can our listeners learn more about GTM Unbound and connect with you if they wish to?
I think LinkedIn is the best channel. Happy to share my program. I go by Aditi Aggarwal, Aggarwal with
Okay.
the double G, founder GTM Unbound. You can type interesting things like Formula One or Manchester United or American Express or just GTM Unbound, and it'll be easy to find me. It'll be one
All
of those
right.
profiles which will be surrounded by community always.
All right, that is great to know. Thank you so much for being with us today. And thank you for our listeners for joining us on the 5 Day Snacks podcast. See you with the next time.